everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to make a scene card using Simon Says Stamps Tweet Friend stamp set. So this is from one of the kits. I think it's the March one, if I believe. And so I'm going to use some MFT stencils. This is the grassy stencil, and I'm going to use some Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide ink to create the start of my backdrop. So I inked up the stencil and then moved it down and inked again, and it just gives this sort of more 3D looking grass even though it's flat. So I just think that was a really nice touch. Then I also have the leaves for the tree from the backdrop. Now the backdrop is from Lawn Fawn, and it's one of their leafy, I think it's called leafy backdrop. I think that's leafy tree backdrop. And so I'm going to use that for the main, or to add to the scene. And then for my sky, I'm going to use Victorian Velvet. All these inks are Distress Oxides. And I'm using the mini cloud stencil, and you can see they're still inky from the last video. So I've done this second card I'm doing with this stamp set. So I kept it simple, and I used half the images for one of the cards and the other half are for this card. So and that's another great way of using your supplies and making them go further. Just split up the images on a stamp set and make two out of one, or put all of them on one card. You can do that too. So that's my very simple background or backdrop to the background. And now we're going to ink up the leafy tree, I think that's what it's called, pardon me, border. Backdrop, words are difficult right now. And I'm just taping off the frame of the backdrop so that I can ink my tree separate from my frame. So the tree is going to be in ground espresso, and I'm just literally going ink to paper, nothing difficult or anything like that. You could add extra colors, to sort of give it extra dimension and stuff like that, but I honestly just kept this really simple. We will spritz everything with water just to give it some extra texture, but I'm not overthinking this any more than this. So we have this, and then what I'm going to do after cleanup is I'm going to retape it back to my this is my glass media mat from Tim Holtz and Tonic Studios, and now I'm going to sort of tape and I'm sorry I'm kind of off camera here for some of this, tape the tree out so that I don't get that, and it's obviously not sticking because that's how my day was going this particular day. But I'm taping off the tree itself so that we don't get any selvage patina on anywhere but the frame. That's the idea. And I do actually end up going a little bit onto the tree accidentally. And those of you who don't know, oxides will sit on top of the paper, which is what makes them it's different. It's a different, the formula is different to normal distressings, but they sit on top of the paper. So using them on darker color cardstock and things like that is what makes them kind of special. But here you can see I went on top of my tree trunk, and of course, because they sit on top of each other, and they don't sort of blend together. I mean, they blend together, but they don't absorb into each other, so you see them sitting on top. I had to kind of just quickly fix that, but you can't see it in the end. So going around the edges here, right the way around the frame with my selvage patina. I know I'm not completely on camera just to get that blue on there. Now the reason I went with the blue for the frame and the pink for the Victorian Velvet pinky colour for the clouds was because that's how I coloured my birds. You'll see that in a bit. I coloured them in some alcohol markers, and so I picked the colours from my images that I'd coloured to create the colours I needed for the background. I sometimes do it that way, sometimes I do it the other way around. I'll sort my background out first and then go, okay, let's colour the images, and work with it that way around. Another great tip is to grab a colour wheel, even if you just Google it, and use it as a guide to see what colours work with what. I actually think I'm going to grab one off Amazon or something, just so that I've got it to hand, because I do a lot of projects, as you guys know. So so now I'm going to take I'm using wet adhesive for this, but I'm going to just start sticking this to my card base. I've just got a white card base. It's an A2 size, so it's 4¼ by 5½ when it's folded, and I've stuck the background on there. It's ever so slightly smaller than the A2 size, so that my frame will fit nicely over the top. Before I get the leafy backdrop on there, I needed to put the leaves in the tree, so I stuck that to the back, so that's that funny looking shape. And then I'm adding some adhesive around the edges to this, and then I will add this to my card base, so all of it will just suddenly come together and you'll see this little scene coming to life. So whenever I do these scene cards, I kind of feel like they're sort of like a little story, or at least that's what I what I see in my head from like when we were kids. Do you remember those books and things we used to build, or like cards? Sometimes it was a birthday card or something, and you'd have all these little pieces, and they would have that like temporary, almost like a cling, and you could then rearrange these little guys all over the place and create your own little story. It's kind of how I imagine this, a little bit. Except we don't take this apart, but it's that sort of idea. So I have foam dots on everything. I also used my brother's scan and cut once I'd coloured the images in. I also had, I used my brother's scan and cut to cut the images out. I love that thing. No, it doesn't give you the same look as a die would, but I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me. This is actually a lot less expensive for me to do it this way and have invested in the machine than it is in the long run than it was to buy dies every time. Nothing wrong with buying the dies. The dies are great. I just don't feel, for me, this was the better option. Especially if you're on a budget. I know you have to initially buy the machine, but yeah, in the long run. And then I used the label dies from Honeybee to cut out my 2 sentiments. So this one says, sending you big hugs on your bird day. So it's a different sentiment completely to the previous one, but I'm using the stamps out of the same set, and I just think it's a cute card. So I hope you've enjoyed this, guys, and yeah, until next time, bye for now.